First play of the fourth quarter of the Pittsburgh game, Justin hits that seam shot to Jimmy. It's gotten a lot of spotlight on it for obvious reasons. I'm curious from your standpoint and your vantage point, what impressed you most about the nuances of that and how he was able to deliver that ball with pressure coming into a tight window?
Yeah, just on time, no hesitation, knowing that he had to get it between the defender who was trying to carry Jimmy vertical and the safety that was deep. It's just that's. I thought it was impressive play. I thought that's how you wanted to play. I thought he looked like it was easy for him to drive the ball that far down the field. Obviously, you couldn't put air on it, so I thought it was excellent. Yeah.
Without overstating it, what does that tell you about where he's at in his sort of growth and progression?
Well, I think we've seen him continue to get better as far as playing on rhythm, playing on the right time. Yeah, I think he's on track. I mean, it was a good play. I'll take more of them.
What excites you most about the way he's played in the last couple games, and what is the key for him to continue ascending week by week as the season goes on?
I just think improvement. Again, we spend a lot more time looking at the small picture than the big picture. So most of the questions I get asked are about the big picture because that's the headlines. But most of what we deal with is play by play, get better, add them up, pile them up, and then especially coming off of this week, you end up as a coach watching so much video over and over. You watch it by situation. And so you're seeing him, but you're also seeing the scheme, and you're trying to evaluate, are we doing the right things for the people we have? When you're coming out of the bye, head full of what you just studied for a week or so, minus the fishing time, and now applying that to the next team. So I guess the big picture is looking good, but that's not what we deal in that much.
Bill, we've seen since the summer where Justin has had no problem throwing to covered receivers. And statistically, he's ranked as one of the most aggressive passers in the league as far as throwing to tight windows. What's the coaching philosophy on wanting him to do that and take advantage of that, but also not wanting to have turnovers?
Well, you want to minimize the turnovers, right? If you have a better chance of winning the game if you have 0 turnovers. If you go the year with 0 turnovers, you probably don't have enough big plays either. So there's that balance. You want an aggressive player. You can't play cautious. So there is that balance. And I think when a guy comes in to the league or when you first start coaching a guy, you have to find where is he on that scale, on that spectrum of being aggressive and being too cautious. And then you just kind of work it and tweak it, and you work with them. And there's no one simple answer to it. The fact that a rookie will make the throws when guys are covered, to me, is a positive, and it helps you get more big plays. And I know we've talked about it in here on other Thursdays. We need more big plays, so we need him to make the throws. And some weeks you play against zone teams where there aren't going to be as many of those. I mean, the windows maybe are tight, but it's different than you play man teams, and you're going to have guys. Guys are going to be NFL open at the most. You don't expect them to be open. So I'm encouraged that he'll make the throws, that he's not hesitant, that he understands what it's going to look like when it's time to pull the trigger. And I think it's only going to get better. And as he plays with the same guys over and over, he'll also learn from them. What does it look like when this receiver is matched up one-on-one with the corner and is going deep, and I can throw it out the other side? Some of that is just being with the guys, too.
You mentioned big plays, and I don't think Justin had a completion over like 22, 23 yards for 4 games, and then he had 4 against Pittsburgh. Was there one thing that maybe accounted for him? He had a 50-yarder, I think a 39-yarder. What was the difference?
We've been trying. I think over the last 3 games, our number of explosives. Of course, it depends how you count them, like with all statistics. But if you count 16-yard passes and 12-yard runs, that it's been increasing. So it's coming, and it's some games we come out and we had a certain set of plays that we thought would get them for us, and we kick ourselves for only getting 2 of the 5 plays called, and then you look at them and you say, well, gosh, we just didn't get the coverage that we thought at the time we thought, or maybe they actually played deeper than we thought. And so sometimes you try and you were wrong. Like as a coach, you have to go into it and look at it sometimes and say, we thought we were going to get more and we didn't. And so I think the guys feel it. They feel that they need it in order to get us more production. So I think they're encouraged to do it. I think he's encouraged to do it. I think as coaches we're trying to do it. So I think it's just we're just trying to get it to add up.
In Cole's ongoing evolution, obviously we talked a lot last year about how unique it was for the entire rookie class to try to develop through a strange year. He's now 24 games into his career, and he's had 4 different starting quarterbacks. How do you sort of measure his growth alongside some of the complicating factors that have prevented him from having a lot of continuity and a speed ramp to some of it?
Well, part of being a tight end is you do so many different jobs, and the easiest way to gauge a tight end is by the amount of balls they catch and yards they have and touchdowns. But if the offense at times chooses to use you as a protector, the fact is Cole can pass protect defensive ends. If at times they use you front side or back side on blocking, that's part of the job. And as we've talked about in here, for a number of weeks, we've chosen to run the ball at a high rate, and so then that's their part. So some of his development and growth probably just doesn't show up in the whatever stat lines, but I think it's continued to go. So I feel good about the way he approaches meetings, the way he communicates with the quarterback, the way he deals in the tight end room. So I just think that this is what a pro player does. This is how an NFL tight end advances. This is how he learns what yesterday coming off after one of our periods in practice, I heard him ask. He asked kind of me and Justin. We were there. What did you see on this one? Like he wanted to know, so he could on a certain route. He didn't get the ball. He may have beat the guy next to him, but the linebacker ended up in zone getting in the way. And so that curiosity and that openness to learning is gonna help him propel forward.
So when you lay out kind of the scale, like you were a couple questions ago, about as far as being an aggressive thrower versus being a cautious thrower coming in as a rookie, is it easier for you to coach someone like him who comes in with an aggressive mindset and tell him, hey, these are the things you have to be careful about, rather than someone who comes in afraid to make mistakes and you have to kind of prompt them to start taking some chances?
Yeah, his history and my history would tell me that it's very hard to talk a guy into losing caution. If he's cautious, you're just going to have a hard time getting a ton of production in the NFL. If he's reckless, you're going to turn the ball over a lot. But if he's aggressive and smart and willing to be coached, then you feel like, okay, we can help him find just that right area. Cautious, it's just people score too many points these days. In the old days, right, when you could play ebb and flow football, like Bill Parcells wrote in his book about ebb and flow football, you punt it to them, they punt it to you. It's like it got to the point in the NFL where you can only win those games if the other team was trying to do the same thing. But if the other team could go, then, so cautious quarterbacks, it's harder and harder, I think, in the NFL today.
I think he hit some caution. I mean, he comes in with this aggressive mentality and approach to the position, but then when he goes in for his first start, for example, in Cleveland, and he's a new quarterback, is there
I don't
hit some caution then that
I don't
work through and loosen up?
I don't think of caution in that game. I think of terrible things from that game, but not caution isn't one. That wasn't one of them.
Take a guy who thinks like that, and then you put him. He's aggressive in practice, but then you put him in the games. It's a little bit different. It's a little more mistakes. Is there some caution that you have to push through with a new starter like?
I guess I haven't thought. My answer is I don't think of it that way. Was there ever a play where I wish he'd thrown it down the field, but that was the decision he made on that play. I can't say there was never a play where we didn't say, hey, you might have had a chance, but I don't overall think of him as cautious or that that's hit a wave of that, no.
Sorry for saying Cleveland.
It's okay. It's tough.
Well, what are you learning about Justin as he goes through this losing streak. He's never really dealt with losing 4 in a row in his career. And what have you seen, just kind of how he's navigated that in the small picture, not necessarily about his development, but just how he's navigated that as a leader?
Well, the thing that you don't know for sure, over probably the course of your career as an NFL coach, every year you go into the draft and you evaluate guys, and you try to find ways to evaluate these intangible aspects. What is this guy going to be like every day in the building? What is he going to be able to tell us when he comes to the sideline? Will he really have seen what happened? And you try to develop skills for how you ask his college coaches that question to really get to the truth. Not that they're trying to lie to you, some do, but that maybe they don't really know what you're asking. And despite all that time you spend, and then you watch guys, obviously you only draft a certain number of guys, so most guys you see them go other places, but then you watch them from afar. Oh, was my evaluation of him correct? But some of it you don't know. Like to how he's going to be every day walking in the building, and through the course of a long season. Not that college seasons aren't long, but they're a little bit different, right? Because when you hit bowl season, they're a little bit different. Is he going to grind? Is he going to keep going? If he has a game where he had a bunch of plays he didn't like, is he going to change when he comes in the building that next day? Or on the plane ride home even. So those things you don't know. So you asked, what have I found out about him? Just that he's willing to work. He's appears to be happy to work at it and to grind at it. It is mentally exhausting. The job that the quarterback has in the NFL, it's mentally exhausting. From the time he walks in the building, he's always getting coached. And even if he's not with the coaches, he's with the players, and Cole Kmet or Allen Robinson wants to ask him a question on this route. Like, it never stops mentally. And between periods when the defense is going, Coach Nagy might grab him and talk about something. I might. Coach Flip might. Or he goes out in the other field with the tight ends and throws a couple fades. It just never stops. And so some guys just can't. They have to shut it down, and so then they just zone off or whatever. But he's just stayed glued in and worked at it. So that's what I found out.
To that end, obviously he's got as many games left in the season as he played all of last year for Ohio State. What are your indicators these next few months that he is still immersed in the grind that you want him to be immersed in?
Well, I can only go by what I've seen, so I can't predict the future. I'm guessing he'll keep doing
What shows you that? Like, what on a daily basis tells you that
just the things I mentioned. Just staying focused. Coming in and asking questions that show that when he went home last night, he watched video. So you just got to go off what you see. I try not to predict. I just try to believe what we see, and he's just showing us every day.